someone from the other side. But Darren quite honestly says, I was never speaking to anybody from the other side. That doesn't happen. But the people, like you said, people will still believe. No, he might not be saying it's true, but I don't understand how he could have known this. So he must have been speaking to somebody from
Well,
the other side.
and
So you'll convince yourself that actually they did, even if they tell you they didn't.
well, this is the thing is, if that's the same episode that I read about in his book, he did a show where he said, "I'm not a medium, but I'll show you how it works," sort of thing.
Yeah, I think, yeah,
And
quite possibly. I don't know.
afterwards, a woman approached him saying, "You know, that you got it spot on about my mother," and wanted more information, and he was just like, "But I've told you how I've done it. I'm not talking to your mother." Well, you must be because you couldn't know those details. And people, like I said, going back to hypnotism, people hear what they want to hear and have outcomes that they want to have.
So
It's
let's go, because that moves nicely into how they, on this episode, they use Darren Brown as an example of deceptive mentalism, as it were, or sleight of mind using sleight of hand. Because I think the example's good, but I like it's now saying it after we've actually just said some really positive stuff about Darren Brown, because this might put it more in a negative light, and I don't want to be putting anybody in a negative light under this because it's just for the purpose of this, just entertainment. Um, but I thought it was an interesting thing that they pointed out. So Darren Brown went to a marketing firm, I believe it were, and basically played them at their own trick. So we believe that marketing companies place subliminal messages in their advertising so that we eventually buy. And if you look at the online coaching and online advertising and all the guidelines around that, which David and I have probably done a little bit incessantly over the last few years because we've both had businesses. The idea of subliminal messaging, seven is people will look at something at an average of 7 times before they buy, all that kind of rhetoric around it. But actually, what happened is he put these marketing executives into a room and asked them to draw a picture of something that they were going to market. But and when he did the reveal in the envelope at the end, it was a parallel thing. The picture that Darren had put in the envelope was the same picture that the marketing executives had drawn. And then he goes on to explain all the subliminal messaging, the mind cues, etc., that he'd use building up to them being in that room, i.e., things, props and stuff that he'd put about in their vicinity on taxi drives, etc., which we know Darren Brown does. He's done it. I've watched him do it loads of times on shows and stuff. So he's quite honest about that. But what we don't see is the sleight of hand. So that envelope was never there all the time. There were cameras in that room. Darren could see exactly what they were drawing, just copied what they were drawing, put it in the envelope, and then that was the sleight of hand trick. And this is where we get the sleight of hand versus sleight of mind. There is no sleight of mind unless you believe there's a sleight of mind. So you can
yeah,
get someone to believe that that was subliminal messaging, a mentalist trick, all that kind of rhetoric that we kind of buy into, when it was actually nothing more than a common sleight of hand magic trick. And this is where I think the waters started getting muddy in the conversation that Decoding the Gurus were having, as in trying to prove um, someone like Darren Brown of being completely and utterly dishonest. Um, and I don't have an opinion either way on that. And like I've said, I like Darren Brown. I've definitely been entertained by his stuff. I'd have to look more into it before I've now formed a
I
fresh opinion, as it were. But I think it's an interesting point of view.
where whilst I understand and agree with everything they said, my disclaimer is Darren Brown is only doing it for entertainment.
Mm,
That's it. He's not being dishonest. He's not saying what he's doing is true. He is because they're the ones that said he did sleight of hand.
yes.
The that when they broke it down, it's like, well, it could only be sleight of hand, and that's
Yeah.
fine. That's fine. That's the ultimate magician's trick.
Yeah.
But Darren Brown is whichever way you look at it, he's not trying to deceive anybody. He's literally saying, "I am a performer for entertainment, and these are my
Yeah.
tricks." If
Yeah.
you're going to take it that it's more than that, when he's on a TV, doing a TV show, and that's how he makes his living, and and the other thing is he has books where he, like I said, I've read some of his books. He's completely honest about
Yes.
it. It is,
Yeah.
and I'm pretty sure if you read all the disclaimers to every episode, then he'll say this is just fiction, for
Yeah.
entertainment.
Yeah. Exactly, and then this is why I still have a positive mindset towards Darren
Well,
Brown. But looking further down that episode, they're talking about a particular mentalist in inverted commas called Oz something, I can't remember the surname, and he's released a couple of books, and these books, where they're misleading is he's basically telling people if you read my books, you're going to understand the best time to ask your boss for a pay rise, to be able to use manipulation tactics to coerce life in a way that suits you best, basically. So that's where I think the insidious side of it comes in actually from Decoding the Guru. So whilst they use
I
Darren Brown as an example from a performative point of view, this is where it can potentially go into, again, muddy waters and
as
be
somebody that
misleading.
does hypnotherapy and we use a lot of NLP, I would say to anybody, if you're in some form of customer services, or in sales, learn NLP because you're always going to be given positive statements as a versus negative statements. Right? Do watch and understand body language and eye movements and eye pants, right? Because pardon the pun, but you will, when talking, start seeing people's pain points, right?
Mm.
And the reason I say that's good is if you're a salesperson, your job is to sell a product. Now, for the most part, I'm 101% confident that you will not sell something to somebody that doesn't want to buy it. Right?
Mm.
And what I mean by that, if somebody is a serious buyer and they've turned up, because I used to be in the car trade, in your showroom to buy a car, then the chances are, if you're a good salesman, you'll sell them a car. Now, years ago, I used to tell people before, everything went cashless and people used to be waiters and waitresses and stuff like that. If you learn NLP, if you learn how to read people, you could tenfold the experience of them eating, and in return, you could easily double your tips. Right? But it's simple communication. That's it. It's it's simply remembering things about people, and but it's an overlooked skill set. It's a massively overlooked skill set. If you know how to communicate, if you know how to operate within teams, if you know how to be the person that's always seeming to grease the wheels as opposed to jamming the wheels, you will progress a lot further. Just in
Yeah.
life in general, in the corporate world, in any world, to some degree.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that one day you're going to turn up on a building site and be a labourer, and the next day you're the site manager. It's not that simple. But
No.
but in terms of sales and corporate, the world and stuff like that, you can get ahead of other people. And if you learn how to sell well, um, because you have a product that people want, you will get ahead of people that don't know how to handle themselves in front of people, because you're just going to be always having the right statements. You're going to understand when people are hesitant and when they pause. That's the time to hold back. Let's talk about this. Look, I said this to you before. One of the classic things a good salesman would say from the very beginning: are you in a hurry, or do you need to make a decision today? And they'd be like, no, I don't need to make a decision. Great. We have all the time in the world for you to get to know what you want so I can sell you the right car. That's it.
Mm.
Have you tried all of the others? No. Why don't you go and have a look at any of them, see if there's something you like, and then when you're entirely happy that I have the right choice, come back and I'll sell you a car. Because you've got plenty of time, so you don't have to make any decisions today.
Mm.
And then they're going to go around to all the other places and they're all going to try and sell them a car, and they're all going to feel pressurized. And I'm the one that said, hey, come back when you know it's the right choice for you, and I can sell you a car.
Yeah.
It's and it sounds counterproductive, but it's just like and again, it's simple NLP. When you know it's the right choice for you, come and see me, and I
Mm.
can sell you the car that you want. I can give you the right choice so that you feel safe, so you feel happy. And you know it's true because you've looked everywhere else and you've come back and decided this is the right place.
Yeah.
That is so loaded with so much NLP. It's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, the other side of that is I still work in sales because
You now you want I don't sell cars, by the way. Never have. I just used to work in customer service.
yeah. So no, I sell shoes to all
Yeah.
sorts of people. And one of the things that happened to me the other day is quite funny. A woman came in and she was looking at a particular pair of shoes. The kind of I call them commuter shoes because they're the trainers that you see everybody wear
Mm.
when they're commuting to and from work. They're similar to your Adidas Gazelles and stuff like that on your Sambas. And actually what we've got in our story is very good. I have a pair. And they are very nice and ideal for that kind of thing. But I've sold a few pairs of them, just calling them commuter shoes, just because that's what I
Yeah.
call them. And I call them that to the right people because I can see when they come in that that's why they're looking for them. There's literally
But you live in the
clues in
commuter
the
belt.
way that they're dressed, the way that they come
Yeah.
and look at them straight away. They're not looking at them for sports, they're looking at them for commuting. So I call them
Mm.
commuter shoes. And again, that's just one of those I've picked up. I've started to understand the signals, what people wear to commute in, and basically put the two together. And now I use that as a way of selling those shoes. And
Yeah.
it works very, very well.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
but there's nothing, I'm not lying about anything that I'm saying to them. The shoes are very comfortable and they're very good. That's why I have a pair.
But
You
this
know?
comes back to what I'm saying is the the only reason you're able to sell them in the first place is two reasons. One, they commute. There's three reasons. One, they commute. Two, they're looking for a shoe that's more comfortable for when they're commuting. And three, they don't want the Adidas or the Puma equivalents.
Oh, they're just not bothered about paying the price. Although the price point is quite similar, to be fair. It's
That's
just
what
that
I'm saying.
happens to be in my shop at the time, and they'd rather leave in that shop than have to go elsewhere and still not have the ones what they were looking for.
But what I'm saying is, if they were interested in Adidas or Puma, they wouldn't come into your shop to buy those shoes.
True,
Do you know what I mean?
true.
So they know they don't want the alternatives on the market. They know they don't want to be seen as an Adidas or a Puma person. The only reason I mention those two brands because they're famous for those trainers. But
Yes.
they're looking for so they don't want the association that comes with those brands, whether that's negative or positive. But to them, it's obviously I don't want them because, like you say, the price point is pretty much the same.
Mm.
So they're looking for the alternative.
Yeah, yeah.
So you're not, like you
Something
say,
lower
you're
key.
not what you're doing extremely well is it's not that you're selling them because they already want them. That's already an established sort of an established element of the conversation. What you're doing
Mm.
is not putting in negative statements that put them off your brand.
Yeah.
You're making you're solving the problem. So get rid of the
Mm.
pain point. Offering them the alternative they're looking for at the price that
Mm.
they're already prepared to pay.
Yeah,
But but if people aren't careful, negative statements can put people off.
yeah,
But as long as you all the statements coincide with what they need to hear to part with their money, the price is sold. It's a sold
yeah.
product. It's
And by the way, guys, if you want to have a guess for the brand that I work for, put it in the comments below. See if you can guess it right. I will let you know. It's
yeah,
not like it's a secret, but it's a point of interest. See if you can guess what brand I work for.
yeah, and it's not Puma or Adidas. Just to give you a hint.
Definitely. Well, clearly.
Yeah.
It also
Sure.
means that I possibly don't work in JD Sports
Yes.
or Sports Direct or any sports
Yes.
shop.
So, shall
But
we
yeah,
finish that one there?
yeah. So wait there. Let me just find through his thing. Uh, yeah, I think that is. I think people have got what they need out of that. Oh, one thing I do want to mention before we do go is actually they did come up with because the guy that they interviewed on the episode, he does a lot of the legislation around the disclaimers for magicians versus mentalists, and this is why that is a
Yeah.
particular point of interest. Um, and so he labels some of the things with regards to the mentalist as false explanation, where and describes this as a magician deceives the eyes, where a mentalist deceives the mind. So I think these are just good things to have in mind. I'm not going to elaborate much on them. You can make what you want to comment down below or whatever else. Tell us what you think that means. But they did use the term cognitive dissonance as well, and it's a cognitive dissonance of the mind that allows you to be deceived in that way, which again is just an interesting framing. But again, any
Well,
comments,
is
by all means, put them below.
but I would apply that to a magician. The cognitive dissonance is you believe he's performed a magic trick. It's tomatoes, tomatoes. It's. I think as long as there is disclaimer saying this is entertainment and not real, I'm not sure what else performers are supposed to do.